Hello, friends, and welcome to the Limitless Podcast. So glad to have you today. I am excited about this episode. I have with me Emma Gaskin, and we have had some incredible conversations prior to this podcast. And I love, love, love what this woman is doing in the world of female entrepreneurship. So I'm excited to share with you. Let me just share with you a little bit about this amazing woman, but it does not actually encompass everything that she is doing. So we're going to have a beautiful, beautiful conversation today. So she helps women founders turn their voice into money using her signature speak up method. Cool, right? She has over 1,000 clients. She's helped so many women. She's a keynote speaker and a speaking coach. So I'm excited for you to hear from her, especially what she's doing that is so uniquely different and changing the world of speaking, which I'm pretty sure that we have a future together, as I want her to coach me through my speaking skills. Emma, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. I would love for you to share a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. So, yes, I am a public speaking coach. And in the last 10 years, actually, I've worked as a speech and language therapist and public speaking coach, helping over 1,000 clients to either speak again after a brain injury or a stroke, helping them to maintain their speech with Parkinson's, dementia, other neurodegenerative diseases. And now more, my focus is on helping female entrepreneurs to speak their truth, to really master public speaking, and to get paid to speak on stages.
I love that. I love that so much. So, obviously, there was something that really transpired in as a speech therapist that made you want to venture out into your own business, which I love. You obviously are an entrepreneur at heart and really saw a need and a niche for for what you're doing today. How did you decide to make that transition, or have you completely made that transition?
What a great question, because Friday will be my last day in the National Health Service as a speech therapist. I've been doing that part-time, so I will be going fully into my business, which is super exciting. And yeah, partly because the National Health Service in the UK at the moment, I'm sure many people are aware, but even before COVID, but since COVID is not not in a great way. So, for example, where the area that I work at the moment, there are 300 people waiting to be seen for a speech therapist.
Oh
That's
my
just
goodness.
adults, and that's just in my area.
Wow.
And unfortunately, the result of that is that when you do see people, it can feel very prescriptive. It can feel you can have X amount of sessions for this and then you're discharged. We do these exercises for this person, and it isn't as holistic and it isn't the gold standard of care that I would want to give, and I know many therapists want to give in the health service. And for me, it felt like you're treating a symptom and then moving on to the next person, almost like a conveyor belt. And there's so much more to communication and to speaking, and there's so much more to people. And I personally have found it very hard to sit with that. Oh, I'm giving a bronze standard of care so that I can see the next person. So that's sort of something I'd struggled or found challenging in my career. But then also personally, I was in a relationship for 10 years, and as time went on, I found that I was losing my voice, not physically,
Mhm.
metaphorically, partly because I was ill during that time, and partly because, you want to be a good partner, you want to be accommodating, you want to be nurturing. And so I often found that I would support someone else's goals and take the back seat. And I realized that that isn't what I was going to do anymore. And I left the relationship 4 months before we were due to get married. I,
Wow.
yeah, I took
Wow.
I took the money that I was going to get married with, and I went on a retreat where it was actually quiet enough to find my own voice. And that's where my business really blossomed from. Because I love helping people to communicate, love helping people to speak. And this way I can do it on my terms, but I can help people, really truly help them rather than just this is what you get because I've got to move on.
Right. I mean, I literally have chills right now listening to your story because that is such a bold move, a daring move for, 4 months out. You probably have already spent money on some things, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You maybe have sent out a save the date.
Yeah. Had a dress.
Yeah. Had your dress, all the
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. People have booked flights because we were going to get married in Italy. Like, yes, it was a big, big, big life change. And although I don't regret it, I do still find it difficult because, when you're with someone for that length of time and someone that you do truly care about, it is hard to choose yourself, especially after all that time. And I think especially as a woman in particular, when,
Hmm.
we're kind of sociologists will tell us that as women, we are brought up, we are socialized from a young age to be nurturing, to be kind, to be polite above all else. And so to speak up and say, no, I'm not doing this anymore, knowing the consequences, it was hard, it was heartbreaking, but it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well, you're speaking to the choir. This is what I coach women through, and I
Mm,
love your story and just how brave you were to really recognize I love this person. I
mm.
have great memories with this person, but I'm out of alignment with this person. And can you, and maybe this is really close to home. Can you recall how you knew that it was not right? Like, did you feel it in your body? Was there just a knowing? Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, so I left the relationship in 2023, so it was a little bit of time now. Well, kind of nearly 2 years. And part of it I think was an underlying knowing that kind of manifested in different ways. I had a period of quite significant depression, which I thought was because of my job and because of other factors. And I think a lot of it was not being true to myself and not being in alignment. And then one day it was almost like a switch where I was just like, and actually, if I'm completely honest, I walked into a room and I met somebody else. Nothing happened. But when you meet someone and you're just like, whoa. And it just came to me like you're not happy in your
Mm,
relationship because otherwise you wouldn't have had such a reaction to meeting someone else. And it
right,
was like oh my goodness, something's missing.
right. Yeah. Amazing. I mean, really amazing for you to recognize that. And I want everyone to pay attention to this because our body actually knows.
Mm,
Our body will tell us when we're out of alignment. You probably experience a tremendous amount of frustration. You put on a really good face, like everything's okay, because he was probably a really good guy,
yeah.
um, and treated you well. And that's one of the hardest things that we as women get caught in, that, well, he's a good guy. What's wrong with me? We question ourselves over and over and over. And if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And that just means that there's someone out there that is your soulmate. So this is such a beautiful story because it's the beginning of finding your voice, and you are a voice coach,
Yes.
which is, yeah, absolutely amazing. And now you're making another bold, brave move in something that you are not aligned with in your career. So kudos to you for doing that.
Yes. And yes, the irony really that I was helping people to find their voices, to speak again. Like I said, like after brain injury, stroke, but I also worked in a voice clinic where people would come to me who had physically lost their voice. And yet the irony that I'd lost my own voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How interesting then that my voice even went a little bit hoarse. Like this is the thing in that physical sort of manifestation of how we speak and when we speak our truth. And as you said beautifully, like our body knows. And for me, it was literally like being hit by a bolt of lightning. That's the way I can describe it. Like it was such a physical, like, oh my goodness, the realization.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I remember I actually dated a guy, high school, early college years, and really thought, he was the one. We didn't have wedding plans or anything. Um, but I literally woke up one morning and was like, this is done.
Mm,
Like this is done. And it can happen just like that, or it could be something that we deny ourselves, and we do, because he's a good guy, he treats me well, and then we end up going into a state of depression or even disease in the body. Yeah.
mm,
So beautiful. Kudos. I'm excited to talk to you about really your method and what you do, because we've talked about that. But I just want to, again, just congratulate you um, for stepping out and doing what you feel is best for you, and not denying yourself anymore. So that's such a beautiful thing to see, a woman who truly knows, there's something more out there. And it's not that it's about money or fame, but it's this, I'm meant for something different, and listening to that. So
mm. Yeah, thank you.
kudos to you.
That's really kind. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not the easiest. I think very often, and we've talked about this before, about in like the coaching world or the entrepreneur world, online it can look like everything's great, and it's not the easiest path to take, but it is the most fulfilling.
Right. No, nothing is easy if we're going to be transforming lives, right? Because in order for us to transform lives, for people to experience that transformation through us, we have to grow and evolve. And you can't grow and evolve unless there's pressure.
Oh my goodness, I can really relate to that.
Hmm.
The changes in like me personally and the things that I've been through, just unbelievable. And without them, my business wouldn't be where I am today. And a couple of things that I've been through, I think I'm going through this so I can help other women do the same and come out through the other side, but do
Yeah.
it faster.
Yes. Such a great perspective to be able to see that. And I want, women to understand what you're looking at, a polished version of someone that you feel is more polished than you. That just means that they've worked through some of the struggles. And I hate to say not necessarily struggles, but we all go through some things that mold us into the person that can handle walking people through some transitions and transformation.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
that learning and the kind of wanting to develop and be better, but also being able to accept you yourself for who you are.
exactly. Yeah,
How can you
exactly.
accept others if you don't accept yourself? It's very much a cliche, but it's so true.
It's so true. Yeah, it's so true. So, learning to love and accept ourselves. That's what I teach everyone. That's what we are here for, learning to love and accept ourselves. But most of
Mm,
us are searching for it in the external world, that love and acceptance through the titles, the success, the things, the people, all of those things. And once you get to that point where you're like, this isn't it. It's time to learn to love and accept yourself. I want women to know that before they go through that whole process, and believe that there's something in the external world that's going to fulfill, and it's that constant chase to find it.
mm,
Um, and really, when you come back to who you are, everything else works out. Everything else, like you said, the manifestations become easier because you're in alignment with yourself. You love and accept yourself, and it's a completely different energy and space.
yes. And I think that word alignment gets used a lot,
Hmm.
especially in on the online space in the coaching industry. And it can feel like, what is this concept? It's so abstract. What does that mean? But for me and for my clients, it's about what's your why? Because your why, and that's so attached to your values as you are as a person, why you're doing the work you're doing. Because that's what's going to help you get up every morning, when it's dark and you want to stay in bed, when it's been a hard day, when you've not got maybe the client that you wanted, when your month one month maybe isn't as great as the other, that's what you come back to. And that's to me what it feels like to be in alignment,
Mm-hmm.
to be
Yeah.
in your truth, in your why, in your values. And if you stray from that, that's also okay. You accept it, you're human, and then you come right back.
Yes. Yeah. So interesting because my definition of alignment based on what I do is
Mm,
based on what you're wanting. So your why, that goal, that desire, what you're called to do, and the belief system within you. So if they're not aligned, if you are operating from a place of lack, limitation, scarcity, not enoughness, and what you want is, I want to travel the world and I want to have a great man or whatever that is. If you're operating from a place of lack, limitation, and insecurity, that's not in alignment with what you're wanting. And so it's not going to work out.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And I just see that as a variation, like we're just using
Yes.
slightly
Yes.
different words, but
Because we do two
we're,
different things, but it is the same
yes.
thing. Yeah.
But we're in alignment. That's why
Right.
we're here
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that. Okay, so let's talk about your coaching and what makes you unique and different. This is what really fascinated me when we spoke.
Yeah. So very often with public speaking, it can be surface level tips like teaching someone to speak louder or to speak more clearly, but there's so much more to speaking, and I divide it into three different areas of soul, science, and strategy. So the soul part for me is being in your truth and speaking your truth, and that can come from depending on sort of what you believe about chakras and things, about an energy being blocked, potentially in your throat chakra. But what I mean by that is not expressing yourself fully, not fully being creative in an expressive way, whether that's storytelling, singing, dancing, it could be anything. Not active listening. You're listening to respond rather than actually understand and really truly speaking your truth. So that soul part of it and working through those blocks in energy. So that could be from like self-beliefs or conditioning from when you're younger. So I have a client who, for example, when she spoke when she was younger, she was bullied. She was told to shut up constantly. So that's going to feed into your energy and into that belief I'm not worthy of being heard. I swallow down my words, and that creates blocks. It creates beliefs that means we can't share our truth in its truest form. So that's the
Right.
soul piece. And I think that's a lot of the piece that's missing, and certainly what it was missing in my National Health Service work, because that's more of the science of speaking, which is fascinating, but on its own doesn't fix the problem.
Right. So do you
So
work with the other chakras as well, or mainly the throat chakra?
mainly throat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
Beautiful.
of course they're all connected, but I
Right.
see it as like that connection between head and body,
Right.
between
Yeah.
mind and body. And a great example is when I was working in the voice clinics and I saw a number of women, interestingly, more than men, who would have what we call sort of functional voice loss. So this is where they're speaking and it's just coming out as a whisper, but when you put a camera and look at the vocal cords, which are situated sort of where your thyroid is, also where your throat chakra is, there's physically nothing wrong with them. And
Mm.
so it's a game of the mind. And it's not that someone's deliberately doing it, they're not putting it on. There's a block between the mind and the body. And often these women, when we would explore it, it would be around something that had happened. So, like a police officer who had seen something. It was a lady who had an accident in a foreign country, and when she went to hospital, she didn't feel that she'd been heard because she couldn't speak the language. Maybe people
Interesting.
who, yeah, it's maybe another woman who went through trauma in her childhood and she wasn't heard, she couldn't speak up about it, and it came, all of these things sort of come back to people often later in life, and for them it was a physical manifestation. But if I'd followed the science model of here are some exercises, you can practice humming, you can practice breathing, it may have helped, but we had to really explore the soul side of it as well.
The story. Yeah.
Yeah, and it could be then that, I referred somebody on for more like for deeper counseling. But you do have to explore that side. So there's the soul, there's the science of speaking, which is all around the neuroscience, the voice techniques, the breathing mechanisms, the physical aspects that you can see and feel when you speak. And then there's the strategy side. So if you're on a stage, how are you telling a story? How are you really engaging your audience and capturing their attention? And how are you positioning your business so that when you come off the stage, people are like, I want to work with her. I know exactly how to do it. And I know the next steps of how we can work together and what that looks like.
I love that.
So
So
there's so much
amazing.
to it. There's
Yeah,
so much to
so
it.
amazing. But I love the soul side. It is so invaluable because, if you are, like I said, if you're have that belief system underlying, but you want to be the speaker,
Mm,
the belief has to match.
right.
And if you have that story of I'm not heard, then you're not going to get what you want. So I'm amazing that you're addressing that. That's so beautiful.
And it's and that comes from seeing it in action time and time again. Again, if I've had let's say two clients in my speech therapy work where both of them had had a stroke, they've both got brain damage, you are doing the same exact speech therapy techniques, but you're getting different results. That's a mismatch. That's something else. And you can call it sort of soul, you can call it mind, whatever you want to call it. There's something else. Maybe one person's more motivated to speak because, they've got grandchildren that they want to speak to. Somebody else doesn't have that same motivation because they've given up. They think it's not worth it. That is really speaks to me. And then again, seeing how women are conditioned time after time and how that impacts on how they use their voice and my own personal experience.
Yes.
Those things together, it's just it's been a no-brainer, really. That's how the kind
Yes.
of method has been formed.
Yes. And I love that the personal experience is so important because it's very difficult to coach someone through something you actually haven't been through,
Yeah.
right? And the strategy piece where you were sharing, you could have two different patients and they got two different results. That's
Mm,
exactly what I would see in business as well. And I could give, 100 people the exact same strategy, but why
mm,
is it that only, 10% will actually make six figures and beyond? It's because it's the story. It's and that's so important. You have to address that soul piece of it, because if strategy were the real answer, everyone would be a millionaire. If I could just give you strategy and you would just do it, but the problem is you don't do it because there's a belief there.
yes,
And
a
such a
block.
huge, yeah, that's the block. Yeah, for sure.
Mm. And that willingness to be vulnerable and open and share your story. So that's that's another big part of it is, you can stand on stage and tell people like this is how to make a six-figure business, and they'll care because, great, there's strategies to put in place. But if you want to build trust with your audience and credibility, you need to share a story. You need to open up to them and but balance that vulnerability with credibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through X, I did Y, here's my result. Now I'm going to help you do the same. And I always say speak from a place of it's not an open wound, it's healed. So
Right.
you can speak from that place. You've accepted it, you've worked through it, and now you can speak to help other people with it.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the storytelling piece that you speak about. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And you teach women how to storytell.
Yes, that's one element. And the story in a if you were going to go on stage and do a keynote, a signature talk for 30 minutes, you would want your story in there, but it's not the main feature. Because
Mm-hmm.
even though you're the one stood on the stage talking, actually a talk isn't about you, it's about your audience and the value you can give.
Yes.
So it's what story can I tell that will still bring value? It will evoke emotion, it will evoke vulnerability because there are actually changes in our brain when we tell a story. If I tell an audience a story in a right way, it evokes certain brain chemicals. So chemicals that make us feel happy, even oxytocin, which is the love chemical.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are more likely to trust you. They're more likely to empathize with you, and they're more likely to want to work with you and buy from you. And that's from storytelling. And this is something that's evolved for 30,000 years. We were telling stories 30,000 years ago to survive. Don't eat that berry, don't go in that cave. Whereas now we don't do it to survive, we do it to connect.
Right. Yeah. And
We
it
do it
it
for
definitely
social.
is, yeah, it definitely is a skill for sure, because
Absolutely.
it's not easy to share your story in a way that captures the audience, um and then it not being about you the whole time,
Mm.
and making that, okay, this is how I'm going to help you. I love that. That's so good. Yeah.
When you can come, and a lot of fear around public speaking comes from like, what are people going to think of me? I'm in the spotlight. They're looking at me. They're judging what I'm saying, when actually most people are sat there thinking, what am I going to have for dinner? But when
Right.
you take it out of what are they going to think of me and go to how do I give people the most value, it completely changes how you shape your talk, and it changes the results. Rather than, oh, that was a good talk, or, a couple of people getting in contact with you, people really want to be in your world, and your talk sort of does the hard work for you.
Right. Yeah. So there's three S's then. So there's
Yeah.
the soul, the science, the strategy, and the storytelling.
Yeah, so soul, science, and strategy.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
storytelling goes in the strategy.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Really,
Yeah.
it's a kind of a five-part method, but it's a lot easier to 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 explain it in those three different elements, and within that, you've got the different parts.
So what kind of results have you seen with your clients booking their speaking?
So, a really great example is a client that I've just worked with. She is a hypnotherapist, a psychotherapist, and we worked together for 8 weeks. And she did her own speaking event. So she organized her own event. She spoke twice at it. And I'd said to her, like, what is your goal at the end of this talk? She was like, I want people to book onto my next event. I was like, great. So we worked on sort of three main things. One was the opening. So very often people will say, hi, my name's Emma and I'm here to talk to you about public speaking. It's boring and it's about you. So we changed the opening. We went for a really emotive statistic about mental health, because that's what she was talking about mental health, how many people are in the services, how many people need the services. Then we structured her talk so that there was a really fine balance of storytelling and takeaways, things that people could do there and then. And then we worked into what offer she had at the end. So in order to kind of, in order to get people to really buy in to what she had to offer, we framed it in a way that was really exclusive. So it was, you'll get this early bird price and a treatment that I've never offered before. And the
Mm.
result was that from her audience, 80% of those people converted and bought a ticket for her next event.
Stop it.
80%.
That's amazing. That's
So
amazing.
it does work. And the things that she'd already sort of planned were great, but it was just about taking it to that next
Next
level.
level.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Beautiful.
once you share your story, and once you do it strategically, it really does unlock opportunities.
Hmm.
It really does. One of my current clients, before we started working together, she hosted her own event, and after her event, she made £150,000. And a lot of that was because she shared her story, but she was also asked then to do 6 more speaking gigs. So then we're now working together into how do we turn those speaking gigs into more speaking gigs and into paying clients that want to work with her, because she's got a really special story. But there's also a big difference between when you do your own event and you've got 30 minutes on stage.
Right.
or in front of people. So it's like picking out the most important elements and putting them in a structure together to make it the most impactful, emotive. It depends kind of what I always say to people, what's your core message and what do you want people to feel when you speak? What do you want them to do when you finish speaking? And then work
Yes.
backwards from there.
Yeah. So amazing. I love it. I love all of it.
I
Yeah.
love it as well. And I absolutely love it. And it's one of those things that I can talk about it forever. I absolutely love doing the work and I love seeing the women really come into their own confidence. Actually, a lot of the women that I work with, there's almost two different types of clients. There's the client who wants to do speaking and maybe has been given opportunities. So, for example, one of my clients is a seven-figure business owner. She works with a luxury event company. She's the founder, she's the owner. And because of her amazing story, people wanted her to speak and she was just terrified. And so it's about sort of unlocking your voice and finding your voice so you can go and stop missing out on these opportunities. But
Right.
then there's almost these other clients who they have the confidence, they know they've got something to share, but they just want to master public speaking. So, like I said, the storytelling, how you pull out parts and structure the talk, how you position your business within your talk, the vocal techniques to make your voice sound exciting. And very often there is always a little bit of a soul piece in there. You can sit on Zoom and speak to 50 people on a masterclass or 20 or 10. But if you're going on stage and you're stood in front of 500 people, it's a different,
It's a
you know,
different
it's a
energy.
different
It's
level of
different.
pressure.
Yeah. And yeah.
And
And
you
requires a lot more energy.
requires more energy, it requires
Yeah.
a different kind of prep,
Yes.
and it requires you to make the decision to choose to speak your truth time and time again.
Yes.
The situations that change, the perceived stakes in that, okay, I can speak to a group of my peers, but then when I'm stood in a meeting with perceived leaders or people who are perceived as a higher hierarchy to you, that's it then. That's when the nerves start to kick in.
True. So true. Yes.
And that's when that mindset
Yeah.
piece and that soul piece really becomes really important again. And it's not just you've ticked it off, you're confident. It's something you choose again and again. It's the same for myself. And again, going through those things, you can then help other people to do the same.
Yes. Yeah. So beautiful. Love it. So what any last thoughts, shares that you would like to really teach the listeners?
Oh,
Anything
that's a
that's
good question.
yeah.
Partly it is definitely talking about that choice and choosing to speak your truth time and time again in different situations. Remembering that I acknowledge that men and women have difficulties with public speaking, but women have unique challenges and unique strengths when it comes to speaking up. So, for example, politicians who are female are more likely to be judged more harshly, to be more criticized when they speak up, when they make a mistake. So women are 2 to 3 times more likely to be interrupted in the workplace. And the people most likely to be interrupted are women in leadership positions. So
Wow.
it isn't once you get to a certain level, people are suddenly listening to you and respecting you. It's a constant battle challenge that you have to work through as a woman.
Oh, I'm so glad you shared that because it is so true. And the reason why we don't use our voice is because a lot of times we were shut down for using it when we were a child or in our early years we were shut down somehow, whether it was and I someone told us that we had ugly clothes or whatever it is, so we stopped expressing ourselves, and that doesn't change once you are an adult. There will still be people out there who will try and shut you down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so thank you for reminding everyone, continue to step into your voice because I mean, it's going to be hard in the beginning once you start really speaking up, and it's going to feel very foreign and very uncomfortable and a little bit selfish.
Yes. So start small.
Mm-hmm.
If Tell someone if they get your coffee order wrong. Start
Oh,
small and build up.
I love that. Or
Yeah.
if your steak is not cooked right, instead of
Yeah.
just eating a non-cooked steak that you're paying for,
Yes.
send it back. Yes.
Start, and that's okay. You can do it and still be respectful. You can do it and not be rude, but you're still speaking up for yourself. You're still speaking your truth. You're firming your boundaries. Because a lot of the fear is around being rude, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
being too much.
Being
That's
too
a
much,
whole other
wanting too
separate
much.
issue. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Like you start using your voice and then you get more confident, and then suddenly, especially if you then become more visible, that's when you're going to then be open to more criticism, fears around being judged, around those criticisms, and around, am I too much? Am I not enough? So start small, build up, and just keep coming back to your why, because it's bigger than your fear.
It's bigger than your fear. Yes. Emma, you're amazing. Thank you for sharing. This is so beautiful. I love everything that you are about and what you're doing. And I know that the listeners have gotten so much from you. And so, how can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
So my main audience is on LinkedIn. So you can type in Emma Gaskin or the Speaking Hub. I'm also on Instagram. I'm the dot speaking hub.
Okay, awesome. And what we do in this podcast is my listeners, I always encourage them to get in your inbox and thank you for your message and your sharing, because that's just who we are and what we're about is women encouraging women. So thank you for your shares. Thank you for what you're doing for the world. You're a game changer. And it's really going to make a difference because women who speak their voice are going to be absolutely unstoppable. So you have a powerful mission, my friend.
Thank you so much. And thank you for providing this platform for women to come and use their voices
Yeah,
and speak their
absolutely.
truth. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that you took so many notes. So many beautiful, beautiful nuggets were shared from Emma. And we will see you next week. God bless you. Take care.